Listen to this. This was the Falcon Lake incident, Canada's most famous UFO encounter in 1967. 42 years ago is when this incident took place. And if you think about E.T. and how they were trying to communicate with E.T., remember, I didn't get to watch the whole movie. It was one of those alien shows where the lights were all different colors in the sky. That's how they were, just a lot of different colors. I want you to listen to this because I started listening to like the first 30 seconds and it sounds wild. It does. Where we at? Falcon Lake incident. Hey there, Frank, honey. Hello there, Marcy, honey. Yes, be a blessing. Good evening. Mickey Martin, honey. You got to smash it. Let's listen to this, y'all. This is really interesting. I'm going to turn this light out. Yeah, let's listen to this. Okay, we're going to get it.
Has anybody ever come back with the marks of having been on one of these?
Hello.
Definitely. Right here in Manitoba, we have one of the finest cases on record. It's a very interesting case. It took place at Falcon Lake. This is back in '67, and the gentleman involved, Michaluk, was prospecting. As he was prospecting, he stopped for lunch, and he saw these bright lights. He looked up. As he was looking, the thing came down. One of them came down. One flew off. Came about 160 feet away from him. Made all kinds of light changes, like a light show. It was the most magnificent thing, he said. Turned into a silver-shaped object about 35 feet in diameter. And as he watched it...
It was a light. It was all these different color lights. Then it changed. They're trying to take away my throat. They're trying to take my voice away. Changed into a silver object. What did he say? 33 feet? Let me hear what he said. Let me hear it.
Silver-shaped object about 35 feet in diameter. And as he walked...
A silver-shaped object. 35 feet in diameter. This is the Falcon Lake incident, Canada's famous UFO encounter in 1967, 42 years ago. That is wild. See, there's all kinds of information out there, but they want to keep the lid on it. Hush, hush. Wow. Why do they? Let's hear what else he had. That's me. What else he had to say.
It went through further color changes. He decided to go up closer to it. He walked up almost within touching distance, started calling it. And as he looked at this thing, a hatch opened up, according to his story. Now, this is all, he was hypnotically regressed, and this is all looked into.
Have you talked to him personally?
Oh, personally, yes. This is about, as I said, 67 and 67.
Is he still alive?
Yes, he is.
In Manitoba?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
The upshot of this whole thing is that as he stepped back from viewing this thing, it was very hot and very bright. Yeah. The thing tilted, started swinging around in a counterclockwise direction, bringing some vent holes, or what appeared to be vent holes, in front of him. This hit him in the chest, knocked him down, and this thing took off. To shorten the story somewhat, he eventually became very ill. It started nauseating. He started seeing spots. He lost everything in his stomach. Eventually, over the next few weeks, he lost a great deal of weight. His lymphocyte count went down drastically, almost lethal. All of the signs were of a cancerous kind of thing or of radiation burning. He was taken to Pinawa, it's a local establishment. Yeah. No radiation whatsoever. Eventually, this kind of thing calmed down, and he went back to work. About 9 months later, he collapsed at work. When they rushed him into the hospital, there was a series of dots on his chest. This proceeded to come back every 3 months for about 14 months, about a year and a half, thereabouts, let's say.
5 times or so.
Yes.
Came back, yeah.
Now, in trying to explain this, none of the doctors here in Winnipeg could do so. It was decided eventually by his doctor to send him to Mayo Clinic, and here is really the freaky part of the whole thing. He went there, he was examined. We know this because he has all kinds of documentation proving he was there. Mm-hmm. His plastic card, his letters of introduction. When he came back, his doctor, of course, wanted to resume this business here. Nothing was sent back. Letters were sent to Mayo Clinic. Nothing came back except the bills, which he proceeded to pay bit by bit through a money order. He has all of this documentation. We finally got a letter back after a year or so of trying, saying, in effect, that they don't know anything about Stephen Michalak. That, as far as they could find out, he's never been there. And yet we have all of this documentation proving that he was.
You asked the Manitoba government to check it out?
No, we did not.
Was it paid for by any kind of Canadian health care?
Well, Ed Schreier now was our MLA in Ottawa at this time.
Yeah.
And he brought it up in the House. And Cadieux, who was the defense minister, said that there would be no forthcoming announcements with the Michalak case.
That is wild. He was seen by the doctors.
Has anybody ever come back with
It changed different colors of lights. There were 3 of them in the sky. One took off, another took off, and one came down. Yeah, you caught me, JW. One came down, and it started changing all different colors, and it turned into a large silver object, 35 feet in diameter, I guess. And it looked like a hatch opened, and then it spun around, and then it shot things at his chest and something, knocked him down and stuff. It wasn't, they couldn't find nothing wrong with him. And then he went to the hospital years later, probably a year and a half, and he got hospital bills. And he ended up dying, but that hospital said, we have no record of that person. Just like that. Yeah. He was burned about a foot square, and it looked like a bunch of holes. Frank Cooper, did you hear about it? Yeah. If you're just tuning in, hello, Victoria. Been saying to back to the beginning, to be able to get to the future. Yeah. Radiation, I don't know if it's like radiation or what. He had 3 holes in his body. My hair is sticking up. Well, I'll be like alfalfa. How about that? I will be out. Look how he's describing it. And we just had the drones. The drones were all over the place. Then everything went silent. Everything is silent. You don't hear about no drones in the sky, no lights in the sky. They just zipped it up. Thank you. I don't know who this is. 42 years ago in Canada.
Turned into a silver-shaped object about 35 feet in diameter. And as he watched it, it went through further color changes. He decided to go up closer to it. He walked up almost within touching distance, started calling it. And as he looked at this thing, a hatch opened up, according to his story. Now, this is all, he was hypnotically regressed, and this is all looked into.
Have you talked to him personally?
Oh, personally, yes. This is about, as I said, 67 and 67.
Is he still alive?
Yes, he is.
In Manitoba?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
The upshot of this whole thing is that as he stepped back from viewing this thing, it was very hot and very bright.
Yeah.
The thing tilted, started swinging around in a counterclockwise direction, bringing some vent holes, or what appeared to be vent holes, in front of him. This hit him in the chest, knocked him down, and this thing took off. To shorten the story somewhat, he eventually became very ill. It started nauseating. He started seeing spots. He lost everything in his stomach. Eventually, over the next few weeks, he lost a great deal of weight. His lymphocyte count went down drastically, almost lethal. All of the signs were of a cancerous kind of thing or of radiation burning. He was taken to Pinawa. It's a local establishment. Yeah. No radiation whatsoever. Eventually, this kind of thing calmed down, and he went back to work. About 9 months later, he collapsed at work. When they rushed him into the hospital, there was a series of dots on his chest. This proceeded to come back every 3 months for about 14 months, about a year and a half, thereabouts, let's say.
If you're just tuning in, this is, before you jump to conclusions, this is the Falcon Lake incident. In Canada, the famous UFO encounter in 1967, 42 years ago, archived. And the guy came encounter with lights in the sky. There were 3 of them. One took off, another one took off, and the other one came down, and it started showing all these different color lights. and it turned into a silver object 35 feet long or something, and it kept doing lights, and then a hatch opened, and then it went counterclockwise and had these 3 holes, and then you just went poo right in his stomach.
5 times or so.
Yes.
Came back, yeah.
Now, in trying to explain this, none of the doctors here in Winnipeg could do so. It was decided eventually by his doctor to send him to Mayo Clinic, and here is really the freaky part of the whole thing. He went there, he was examined. We know this because he has all kinds of documentation proving he was there. His plastic card, his letters of introduction. When he came back, his doctor, of course, wanted to resume this business here. Nothing was sent back. Letters were sent to Mayo Clinic, and nothing came back except the bills, which he proceeded to pay bit by bit through a money order. He has all of this documentation. We finally got a letter back after a year or so of trying, saying, in effect, that they don't know anything about Stephen Michalak. That, as far as they could find out, he's never been there.
Frank, honey, it's just like an iron scorches a person. Wow. Do you think they come from inside the earth? 25-foot long silver, 35-foot long silver UFOs? Yeah. I wonder. See, let's look at some of these images. I've got a specific timestamp in them. These are some of the sightings that people have gotten in the sky. Look, oh, that's very familiar. That one right there. This object right here is very familiar. I don't know if any of you all have seen those. Look at these actual UFOs in the sky. The enticing mystery of, no, see, we got to look at that. The enticing mystery. Oh, I wonder how old this is. Well, this is on 2023. The enticing mysteries of UFO photography. Why are they doing something like that? It's a mystery. I'm not gonna read it. No, I've already. Whoa, what's this? Okay. This is a photograph taken during the so-called Hudson Valley wave of the mid-'80s. Reported by a state trooper, it shows an arc of colorful lights hanging in the night sky. Look at that. I believe they are in the sky. I really do. Look, from the photographs of UFOs, generals, pilots, and government officials on record. I'd like to see another one. Look at this one right here. A photograph of a flying saucer taken by farmer Paul Trent in McMinnville, Oregon, over his farm. Look at that. Over his farm. Who do they belong to? You think they belong to the Germans? Of course, they're going to try to say all of this stuff is fake, but you know it's not fake. There's something to all of this. Look at that. Wow. Costa Rica. An aerial photograph courtesy of the National Geographic, Department of National Registry. Right there, you all. Yeah. Goodness gracious. Let's see some other ones. Oh, that's the they look kind of diamond shaped. This is called the Calvine photo, named after the hamlet in Scotland where it was taken in 1990. Just think they fly through our skies. I bet there is an agreement. You don't talk about us. You don't go further, or we're going to come after you. Tell anybody of our existence, you're in trouble. Italian UFO circles. That incident is considered well known. Okay, ultimately it's a matter of his comment. Let's see. Billy Meyer. Remember Billy Meyer? They're trying to say he was a hoaxer. But I believe that there's something to Billy Meyer. I really do. Of course, they're not going to admit that there are other life forms. Oh, that's it of those you all. Let me flip this back around. You're just tuning in. Hello. Yeah. Now I wanted to the Canada incident. Oh, the Canada incident. Live UAP. Look at that. You know what that looks like? Well, you know how they did the tether incident? These things were flying around in the sky, in space with the tether incident. It's like there was water up there. They look like little, I don't know, things swimming around. Um, she has released a book, La MCLA. Yeah, look at this. Let me see this. Alien sightings revealed. Now, we've documented a lot here also. Look at this. The U2s and Operation Blue Book. Well, you see this shape right here? See how it's got a big light on it? You may say, Gina, there are no such things as UFO. See, oh, you talking to the wrong person. You're saying it to the wrong person is what you're saying it to. Because if you're saying it to me, I'm going to tell you totally opposite. I'm trying to get this. I'm trying to get this thing to go bright. Let me look up here. Let me see if I can get a light on. Let me have it. Let me try it. I got a light. Let me show you this. That long one right there, that looks like it looks like the UFO that is literally in the sky over the observatories. You see it? And I got a lot of flack for that. You can see the round shape of it. They tried to dismiss it as the volcano. It's from the volcano. Really, the volcano has a perfect disc-like shape hovering over this telescope. No, you all, there's different types of UFOs in the sky, and then look at this black ship. This is right here too. The black ships. You can tell it doesn't even belong there, but it's there. When you go to the observatories and they have all these clouds coming in, rest assured there's something inside the clouds. And then take this. This literally is docked. I know I'm a little bit close. It's docked right up to a door, which you can see a door right there underneath that. Sorry, right there in the center. That's a door. Their occupants have got to be short enough and small enough to go through that door right there. And this is where the ships dock. And as for these up here, and as for this stuff right here flying around at the observatories, oh, you can find them flying around all the time. You just got to get it at the right moment. And then as for these right here, you see, look at that. They got big holes in them, big circle holes, and they're kind of like look inside of that. You all see the dark in there? Isn't that strange? It's like they got this material, this cloaking of cloud-like material on the outside, but you can see on the inside. Look at the darkness of it. That's Pappacardo. That is Pappacardo. Let me do something with this light. I'm going to turn the light upside down. Yeah, let me do that. No, these we're gonna listen to that guy. No, I can't. I just got rid of him. Oh, let me turn this down. Yeah. This guy. This was the only person. Now, if I change this date up here, UFO sighting. If I say a UFO sighting, it only, the 1973 incident, What's this? I want to see this right here. Okay, it's trying to get in here. I hope they have a video of it. Oh, Purple Honey, you on the wrong channel saying they're just planes. You really are. Because you think I'm going to believe it's just planes? No. I've seen UFOs. So have a lot of other people. A lot of people have missing time. You should look into it. They've had the great big lights come to them. They see the lights in the sky. They've been taken aboard ships. They have been abducted. It's a real thing. Yeah. Oh, I can't read that. I'm not even going to go in that because I don't understand that, whatever it was that they were talking about. Yeah, not planes and not drones. But there are people, watch this, the egg-shaped ship. The egg shape, oh, it's perfect. Oh, hold on, Gina, you got to get the egg-shaped UFO. I'm gonna put it on here. Egg-shaped UFO. The other ones, okay, I guess they're kind of fine, but you don't want to have the Borg. That's the cubes. That's the kind of sound like they're really scary kind right there, the Borg. Because there are black cubes that fly around, whether some people realize it or not. Hold on a second. We're gonna see it, another one. Oh, thank you, Tanker. Why does it got to, it's bringing up little, cartoons. This is really strange. Okay, now this has got some more coming on here. Oh, Charlie Rose. A discussing with John Mack, a Harvard University psychiatrist who studies people who say they have been abducted by, oh, let's see what they said. I want to see that. Let's see that. we're going to see what C-SPAN said about the Roswell incident. 1947. It's making my ear, Frank Honey, my ear's burning on the left side. It's okay. See if I can get that going. I got to watch it. It's going to show an ad first, but I'm going to silence the ad. I hope it don't just spin like that. When I was trying to watch it earlier, I was going to show something on here, and this is what it did. They don't want me to watch it. That's what I feel. They don't want me to watch it. You was taken by the Lord and sealed. He's coming soon. It's like a song. He's coming soon. There's no doubt. I'm gonna leave this old world with a shout. Keep looking up. Okay, I gotta go. Come on.
8 Eastern Time, 5 Pacific.
Look.
Next, an Air Force report on a 1947 incident in Roswell, New Mexico. Yesterday, the Air Force issued a report at the Pentagon that they hope will close the book on rumors that they recovered a flying saucer and extraterrestrial bodies near Roswell 50 years ago and then covered it up. During this news conference, you'll hear from Colonel John Haynes of the Air Force Declassification Review Team. His comments are about 20 minutes.
Good afternoon. I only wish we'd been able to get this number of media here.
Okay, so they have to keep going back to Roswell and try to convince people that it wasn't a flying saucer. Yeah. Let me do this. Do we have any moderators on here? Yeah.
With us when we were trying to tell you about the importance of air power to national security recently. I'm Virginia Pribble, the Chief of Media Relations for the Air Force. This is a single subject briefing today on the release of an Air Force report titled The Roswell Report, Case Closed. Colonel John Haynes, Deputy Chief of the Air Force Declassification and Review Team, will have some opening remarks, show a brief video, and then answer your questions. Copies of the news release, report, and videos are either located or going to be located On the table near the entrance, we're running low on the report, so please take one per agency. The general public can obtain copies of the report from the government printing office. Related information and some photos will also be available on the internet on the Air Force link this afternoon. Colonel Haynes. You should have bios in your press packs, Haynes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure I'd like.
You know what? I tried to make someone a moderator like Tanya. It says you're supposed to be a standard moderator, but I'm not seeing no wrench on you for some strange reason. Yeah, we're going to hear the Roswell incident again. They're trying to dismiss it.
To show you this book, tell you it's $18.
Oh, you got it.
Door, but there are 2 armed guards right there, and they're not going to let me out of that easily. Let me read my prepared statement, and then we'll roll a short video that Captain McAndrew will talk about, and then I will answer some questions. We're confident once the report is out and digested by the public that this will be the final word on the Roswell incident.
Oh, you're welcome, Tanya. Thank you.
The conclusion of the first report left no doubt that what was recovered near Roswell, New Mexico in July 1947 was debris from a formerly top-secret Army Air Forces research project, codenamed Mogul. Mogul was an attempt to acoustically detect Soviet nuclear blast and
Hey, Polly, honey, we're getting an official, they hope it's the last talk about the Roswell incident now. And these Air Force spokespeople, they sound a lot different than the ones we got today.
ballistic missile launches. Mogul used an odd assortment of equipment carried aloft by a balloon train more than 600 feet long. This balloon train consisted of 25 balloons, attached acoustic devices.
They said it was project name a Mogul. Let's see if we can get back to it. There is no caption on here. I'll try not to pause it at critical places. I want to hear what he has to say. He's still saying they're weather balloons. Okay, this is in 1997. My husband was in the military during that time in the Air Force. Let's hear it.
In July 1947 was debris from a formerly top-secret Army Air Forces research project, codenamed Mogul.
Mogul, code name.
Mogul was an attempt to acoustically detect Soviet nuclear blast and ballistic missile launches. Mogul used an odd assortment of equipment carried aloft by a balloon train more than 600 feet long. This balloon train consisted of 25 balloons, attached acoustic devices, and several radar reflectors, which looked like box kites. In 1947, it was the misidentification of these radar reflectors that is most likely the famous flying disc. Today, we're releasing the final report to address questions about alleged bodies associated with the Roswell story. This report has 4 main conclusions. If you have your books, turn to page 3. We'll have a lesson. 1. Air Force activities which occurred over a period of many years have been consolidated and are now represented to have occurred in 2 or 3 days in July 1947. 2. Bodies observed in the New Mexico desert were probably test dummies that were carried aloft by U.S. Air Force high-altitude balloons for scientific research. 3. The unusual military activities in the New Mexico desert were high-altitude research balloon launch and recovery operations. The reports of military units that always seemed to arrive shortly after a crash were actually accurate. Descriptions of Air Force personnel engaged in the dummy recovery operations. 4. Claims of bodies at the Roswell Army Airfield Hospital were most likely a combination of 2 separate incidents. One was a 1956 KC-97 aircraft accident in which 11 Air Force members lost their lives, or a 1959 manned balloon mishap in which 2 Air Force pilots were injured. That information is in this report. These conclusions are listed in page 3, as I said, of the book. Please roll the video.
Al Honey, we have Polly Honey on here. I think she's still on here. And we have Tanya, who volunteered to be a moderator because I didn't have one on here. Tanker's out the door. This is a 1997, June the 25th. They said, hopefully this is the last thing we have to do, the last account of the Roswell to set the record straight. So they're going to roll the evidence. Yeah, let's look at this. 1997. And the whole entire personality, the frequency that they have is totally different than what it is today on the Pentagon press briefings. Totally different vibe and everything. This right here is more like calm and relaxed and down to earth. Yeah.
First clip's pretty quick. I'm going to start off some Air Force High Altitude balloon operations, and the first project's going to be a NASA Viking space probe tested in New Mexico. This was launched from Roswell, New Mexico.
It looks like a flying saucer. Look at that. Okay, let me play it.
In 1972 and recovered on the White Sands Missile Range, about 100 miles to the west. That is the Voyager Mars, another test here which did also come out.
Where's the bodies?
This is a typical Air Force high altitude balloon launch operation in the desert of New Mexico. This is during the mid-50s. That's just a comparison of the size. You can see how many airliners you could fit inside a high altitude research balloon at altitude. These are just some payloads, unusual payloads, not typically associated with the balloon. Next will be the reconnaissance project Mogul. The project took place in New Mexico in 1947. This is some equipment associated with Project Mogul. There's the famous box kite that became the famous flying disc. The weather balloons that were on the balloon train. That's the tinfoil paper, rubber, and sticks that they recovered in the desert near New Mexico in 1947. Here's what you've all been waiting for, the anthropomorphic dummies and Joseph W. Kittinger Jr. That's a typical test dummy used by the Air Force during the 1950s. There's one of the project officers with that particular dummy is known as a Sierra Sam, manufactured by Sierra Engineering Corporation. One of the technical reports listed in the bibliography of the report. This is actually a manned subject, but that's what the dummies were used for, to test ejection.
So that's not a dummy.
That's a man. And here's how the dummies were employed. 2 dummies to Iraq. Some were in a gondola. They flew up to 98,000 feet. This launch is in New Mexico. That's an upshot, and there goes the dummy. He would free fall for a period of time, and a drogue chute would deploy, and the object was to recover a human from a high altitude aircraft. They often landed at off-range locations throughout New Mexico, often observed by civilians. This is where the recovery crews would scurry in to recover them, either with aircraft or ground vehicles. This is retired Colonel Joseph W. Kittinger Jr. This is the culmination of the high altitude projects that use the dummies. And that's the Excelsior 3 gondola in 1960. And that's Captain Kittinger. That is the world record parachute jump, still stands today. He free fell for 4 minutes and 37 seconds. And he did it 3 times.
Okay, let me.
I've never heard of any of that. They went to totally silence even the coroner, all these other people who had eyewitness account. This is from 1996. I didn't know this existed. Roswell.
Yes, ma'am.
Why did it take so long to come up with this conclusion? You've come up with many other conclusions.
Well, the first report was the GAO required report for Project Mogul. When Captain Gandry was doing additional research after that report had been given to the secretary, and we were waiting to publish the second report, he was looking for additional pictures. And he uncovered some film strips of the balloon test and the dummies. And that's when he began to do further research. He sent it up the chain, and they said, this is excellent information. It's outstanding scientific research by the Air Force, and we want the public to know about it because it's the public's information.
Colonel, how do you square the UFO enthusiasts saying that they're talking about 1947, well, you're talking about dummies used in the 50s, almost a decade later?
Well, I'm afraid that's the problem that we have with time compression. I don't know what they saw in 47, but I'm quite sure it probably was Project Mogul. But I think if you find that people talk about things over a period of time, they begin to lose exactly when the date was. And there were lots of dummies dropped. There were about 2,500 balloons launched during this 30-year period in New Mexico alone.
What do you think people in Roswell and elsewhere still are not convinced, no matter what you say?
I'm sorry, but I just can't answer that question for them. But they must look at the evidence. If you will read this book, and I'm sure you're going to take it home tonight and read it, quite frankly, you're going to find some very interesting and quite fascinating pieces of information about Air Force research. Whether you accept that as the Roswell information, I quite frankly don't know. But we do because it overlays so well with this period of time.
UFO groups
Sir?
Does the Air Force regret not declassifying some of this information sooner rather than just the last few years?
Great question. Nothing in here was ever classified. In the first report, everything was classified in the 70s.
How much did the study cost?
That's a good question, and quite frankly, we've not captured the data. But let me tell you that we've had no more than 1 or 2 people on it, probably not even full-time over the last 2 years. I can get that for you, but I just don't know because we just got the book on the 10th, and I don't know what the publishing costs are. Yes, ma'am.
Colonel, let me just clear up 2 things that you sort of brushed over quickly. Number 1 was the time frame that people are going to say, but this is 10 years. How could they possibly make a mistake on the 10 years? And number 2, you said it was never classified, and yet why didn't people at the time say, well, my goodness, we were having dummy tests, this explains the answer?
Well, the dummy test, actually, you need to get the book. Actually, you need to look in there. If you look in there, you'll find there are a couple of things in which the dummy tests get lots of media attention. I have it tabbed and I should be able to find it, but quite frankly, I'm sitting here and my knees are shaking.
26, sir.
But
Page 26.
yes, explain those 2 things.
Okay, there's your pictures for that. But let me tell you that I don't know why they can't associate that time period. I'm sorry, I just don't have any information for that. All I know is what the Air Force did, and that if you overlay much of their claims and you look at the Air Force scientific research, you can see it's obvious that what we're talking about at Roswell, and I don't mean Roswell in 47 because that was Project Mogul. That was unmanned. I want to make that very clear. And that's the first report. But over that period of time, dummies were dropped all around there. And I think it's logical to assume that the people there saw Air Force ambulances come out, they saw gurneys come out, they saw body bags come out because the dummies were put into body bags to protect them. They saw people in pith helmets. They saw people in shorts out there brushing the bushes looking for the remnants of the balloons. And when you put all that stuff together and spin it, you find that it fits perfectly with many of the occurrences in Roswell during that era.
They also said that these figures were much smaller stature than full-size adult figures. How do you reconcile that?
I don't reconcile that. I just have no idea why they say that.
Can you help us with when the dummies were first used? What year?
53.
And how many numbers?
The dummies were first used in 53 and Roswell happened in 47, and they said they were dummies. He just caught himself.
The actual balloon launchings were about 2,500. Actual number of dummies dropped were, it's actually in the book and it's very specific, but the number just escapes me. It's more than 300 or 400. Yes, sir.
Why did they make it the design resemble to flying saucer? It makes it very suspicious.
The flying saucer. Now you were talking about in the video. That's also in here, I might add, and you saw it in the video. Some of the, and you're looking at payloads. What they were doing is they wanted to recover these payloads, and so they were testing the parachutes. And I totally agree. If I saw something like that, I'm riding along out there near Ruidoso, and I'm wandering out in the desert, and I see this funny-looking dish out there. I might want to poke around at it, but quite frankly, this is probably what it was.
You keep saying, using the word probably, and you say case closed. Those two don't jive.
Yeah,
How do
you're
you
right.
reconcile that?
Okay, let me say, from the Air Force perspective, that's exactly what it was.
Sir, does the Air Force...
And I don't mean to be rude about that. I want you to understand, we are very, very proud of this report. We think in our office that this answers lots of questions, and it answers them logically and with integrity. And one other thing I might add is if you want to do your own research, in the back is a complete technical report bibliography, and also there is a terrific set of endnotes. And I recommend that if you're interested in this, that you take these and you do your own research and come to your own conclusions. Yes, sir.
Does the Air Force have any evidence at all of any sort of spacecraft wreckage or extraterrestrial presence on Earth?
Yes, sir.
And what is, can you tell us anything about this myth of Area 51, which has become part of everything from Hollywood movies to a local legend? What is Area 51? Is there such a place, and what does it do?
That actually should be outside this brief. Let me ask you a question. If you are talking about Groom Lake, Nevada, is that what you're talking about?
I'm talking about the scene everybody remembers from the movie Independence Day.
My daughter asked me the same question. There is a facility in Groom Lake, Nevada. Quite frankly, I have no knowledge or expertise in the matters. I understand there are classified things that go on there, and that's all I have to say about it.
Well, let me just have one follow-up. How do you know, I mean, your name is now, Colonel John Haynes is going to go down in UFO lore as one of the people who took part, in the minds of some people, in the continuing cover-up by the government. How do you know that you're not being used? How do you know that you know the full story when you stand up there? Tell us that there's no evidence of this.
Because our job is to review all the Air Force documents for this era. And that's how we came up with this exciting and interesting and intriguing, quite frankly, report. I know you think that sounds like a broken record, but you need to get in here and read it, and you will see that many of the things that people think they saw correlate perfectly with Air Force research projects.
You're confident that you're not part of any cover-up, wittingly or unwittingly?
I'm totally confident, but I think Colonel Weaver, you might have seen him on TV earlier, said it best. We can't even keep single secrets. How could we have a conspiracy or a cover-up? Yes, sir.
Question, a follow-up to the Groom Lake operating location. Recently, there were a lot of sightings out in Arizona of supposed UFOs. Is it possible, within the range of possibility, that any classified aircraft from the Groom Lake area were in that vicinity, and this might explain why people are suddenly seeing a lot of strange landing lights and so forth?
Well, let me say two things. Number one, as far as Groom Lake, I don't have any knowledge of that area. Forgive me. It's just not within my area of expertise. I don't have the access. End of quote. Secondly, If you're interested in the Arizona question, I suggest that you contact the local authorities in Arizona and see what they have to say, because the Air Force no longer does any investigation of UFOs. Yes, sir.
Let's go back to that so-called Area 51, because in people's minds, when you say I can't talk about it because it's classified, conjures up, oh, there it is. There's the cover-up. Can you give us any hint, without violating any sense of a confidential nature, what kinds of things might be happening?
Sir, I cannot. Forgive me. I just do not know.
Is there anyone in the Air Force that can?
I'm going to have to defer that to public affairs. It's outside of my area of expertise. Forgive me, but it's just outside of my area of expertise.
Rule out that Area 51 is only human-made equipment and intelligence.
Is that,
Nothing
do we call that leading the witness? Is that what we're, I'm sorry. I just don't know. Forgive me. It's just not an area that I have knowledge. Yes, ma'am.
Colonel, let me just go back one more time, that you say this is case closed and people should now believe it, but with the major hole, though, of you're saying that they're wrong about the date, and the date being 6 years' time that they're wrong about, what explanation can you give them other than just saying, well, we just think they're just mistaken by 6 years?
Ma'am, I have no other explanation. I'm sorry. I have no other explanation. I'm looking at the facts as we have studied them, and I have no other explanation for that but what I've already given.
But how would
Yes,
that
sir.
make it case closed?
Because we've reviewed all the relevant information, and we have finished this, and we're not going to revisit it. And in fact, it's all unclassified. You have an opportunity on your own behalf. I recommend you get the report, start digging in, get on the web, see what you can find out. Yes, sir.
Why did the Pentagon then think that it was necessary to respond now to this? Why did you have to come up with this report?
Well, we actually came up with the report because this is intriguing and fascinating research. You may have noticed this is also the 50th anniversary of the United States Air Force. You may have also concluded that we have been talking about other things about space and things of that nature, and this high-altitude balloon research is quite fascinating. But it was left in the dust. It's something we uncovered, and it's just kind of left in the dust of the space program.
So they have to call them balloons. They got to talk about the balloons. It's weird. I never heard anything about this when that was the main period of time for 20 some odd years. My husband was in the military. We was all around these bases. I didn't see none of this in the news. Didn't hear no talk of it.
It wasn't romantic. Now you have men going up on the end of rockets, and here are guys jumping out of balloons. Kittinger, I believe, broke the speed of sound jumping out of that balloon. Can you imagine that? I mean, I can't imagine it. Yes, sir.
Is it possible that the Air Force could have missed something in its investigation? In other words, is it possible that there are unidentified flying objects, that there are extraterrestrial visits, and the Air Force simply has not found it or been able to detect it?
We have researched the Air Force projects and the Air Force information for these year groups. We have nothing else to say about them. You know, we don't believe there's anything else. I have no way of even vaguely believing there's anything else. I promised the gentleman right back here a question, sir, yes, sir.
Well, about 50 years ago today, a Air Force pilot spied a big array of saucers supposedly flying over Washington State. That may have started all this. Does the Air Force think it will never again investigate these reports? Is Project Blue Book was the end, and that's it?
You know, I don't ever want to speak for the Air Force about never again, but it's my opinion that they will not. Yes, sir.
Sir, from just a cursory examination of the report, it would appear that the Air Force compiled this information at the request of the GAO, at the request of the New Mexico congressperson, if I'm correct.
Now, that was report one, sir.
But even given then, even at that time, why then didn't the Air Force provide these very readily explanations for UFO activity when these questions first started being surfaced?
Well, this information was uncovered as we were preparing to publish that first book. We were actually looking for pictures. We had looked at all the information that surrounded 1947 and found absolutely nothing. But as we got into the out years, we realized that the Air Force had some other quite intriguing, I'll say it one more time, experiments that were going on that could be misconstrued. And that's why that was one of the reasons it was decided to publish the book. Yes, sir.
Did Captain McMaster or any of the other analysts come across any evidence that apart from the silver paper discs that went up with the high altitude balloon, that the Air Force conducted during this rather wide time frame, any other aerodynamic experiments involving manned or unmanned craft that looked like flying saucers?
Well, you saw the payloads in the book. We saw them in the film. And I think those could easily be confused for that, too. And it is Captain McAndrew. So you'll get the... Yes, sir.
But sorry, just apart from those,
yes, sir,
going up on the balloon, were there any other Air Force experiments that you know of involving craft that looked like flying saucers?
No, sir.
Whatever the experiment
Well,
was.
there were some other balloons, and there's some balloon shapes in here you might want to look at, too, that are very intriguing. In fact, they look a lot like some other people's pictures. Yes, sir.
We have time for one more question, and that's it.
I think she's going to deal with that question when I finish. One more question.
Do you believe in UFOs?
Personally, no, sir.
Why not?
Ma'am, I have no reason to believe that they're real.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
He's done. He has no reason to believe that UFOs are real. Wow. They've come a long way since then. They truly have. Since 1997, the Pentagon Press Briefings. I'm actually going to put this in the Pentagon Press Briefing playlist. Yeah, it is a dated video from 1997. I was in Fort George E. Meade in 97. How interesting. Wow. There had to be something that caused them to come out all of a sudden during that period of history to speak about that. There must have been some kind of sightings that were taking place. Yeah. Weather balloons. Well, they have since then spoke. They have. Wow. Well, now we got that on here. That's great. We've got this at C-SPAN and straight from the source. Whoa, it's so bright right here. You can see it was right here, C-SPAN, Air Force report on the Roswell events. The alleged sightings of aliens and UFOs have led to numerous books. So I guess that's a conspiracy theory. Also, the Roswell incidents of a UFO being there, which later, oh, well, who cares about it at this point? Yeah, I am going to go. So thank you all for watching. Thank you, Polly Honey, Tanya Honey, thank you for volunteering, and Al Honey, thank you all for your comments. And it started off with this Falcon Lake incident. We're going to listen to that, and we're going to end it out with this Falcon Lake incident. It's going to do a video. It's probably going to do a commercial, and I don't want to watch it. But we'll wait. We'll let the people on here see it.
And yet we have all of this documentation.
Wait a second. No, I just... No. I want to go back to it. Hold on. 42 years ago, the Falcon Lake incident, Canada's famous UFO encounter in 1967.
Proving.
I don't know what this thing keeps doing. Let me get this, you all. I keep trying to play this over, and it keeps messing up on me. I want to play it. No, I can't get it fast enough. Hold on. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try to get him without... No, I can't. I'm not going to play it. It's not meant. I've closed it out. I'm not going to play it now. That's it. So I'm going to go. And with that being said, hello, wherever you are, in any part of the world. Hello, from my heart to yours. Love ya. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thank you all for watching. That was really interesting. Hearing the Pentagon press secretary, more or less guy, trying to explain away Roswell as weather balloons. And the dummies were not used until 1950 something. But he said there were dummies at Roswell. So he just caught himself in a misspeak. That's what he did. It was. Thank you all. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Love you. Oh, 53. Thank you, Tanya. I'm trying to wait for the video to end. I don't know what's happening. Let's see.